Good evening. It is time for the Fumblerooski podcast by Power 88 Dean Radio. So buckle up. We are in for a wild ride. I am Adam Wright, along with Justin Tucker and Brian Mucker. But first thing is first, we have a special guest, our personal friend, Sean Howe. Sean, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Of course. My name is Sean Howe. I'm a sophomore at Bridgewater State University. I'm a computer science and math double major, and I'm a huge Miami Dolphins fan.
Boo! But welcome to the show.
Oh, get out of here.
But welcome to the show.
Sean, the Miami Dolphins fan. I pointed this out off camera, but 3 of the 4 people on this call right now in this episode are all in the AFC East. Mm-hmm. Can we just point that out? And all of us are in the AFC. Patriots fan, Jets fan, Dolphins fan. It's crazy. We are all division rivals. We hate each other's guts, but we also love each other because we're supposed to be friends. Not really. Brian's mom pays me. And I don't know Sean's mom, but I just feel bad for him. All right, here we go. So, all right, now, guys, it's been a crazy offseason, and it's barely even started. Can we all agree on that? It's been an unbelievable offseason, and free agency hasn't even started yet, still weeks away. It has been a wild ride so far. But so in the embodiment of that is the news that just broke this past Monday in that J.J. Watt, he signs with the Arizona Cardinals on a 2-year, $31 million deal. He joins former teammate DeAndre Hopkins. He was heavily rumored with other teams, including Buffalo, Tennessee, Green Bay, Cleveland, all fits that we thought would make the most sense for him. But he says no. Source, me. I'm going to Arizona. I wasn't even rumored here, but I don't give a damn. We're going here. All right. Now, guys, the question I'm going to ask you all, and I know Justin, you have some strong feelings about this. So what do we make of this move by J.J. Watt going to the Arizona Cardinals? I know, Justin, you've been going on about this. Justin, the floor is yours. Go on.
Before I get started on my rant, can I just say that tweet he tweeted out about the mitochondria, hilarious. I will give him his credit. But listen here, JJ. First off, the name. I like it. Justin. Let's talk. You chose the wrong team, bucko. The Ravens were right there. Green Bay was right there. Screw Cleveland and Pittsburgh. Buffalo was right there. You chose Arizona. Now, if you chose them strictly because you said, screw Justin Tucker, I'd respect it. Just off rip. I'd respect it. But you didn't. I assume you chose them because of DeAndre Hopkins, the talent around them, and what you believe that they could be. Because let's face facts, they weren't even a playoff team last year. So they underperformed and underachieved. Now, if you're telling me it's about the money, go ahead and get your money. 2 years, 31 million, 23 million guaranteed. I can't be mad at that. That's more money than most people will make in their lives. I understand. But if you're telling me you want to win a Super Bowl, there are like 5 other teams you could have went to, specifically my team or Green Bay. That's the only teams you're allowed to go to. But you choose Arizona.
Not happy.
I'm not happy. Sorry. First off, not only did he choose the wrong team, he chose the wrong bird. Ravens Nation could have used somebody like you.
Justin.
Yeah.
JJ didn't say it, but I'll say it. Screw Justin Tucker. I'll say it for him. I don't care. I'll say it without him.
Instead of doing the smart thing, joining a Super Bowl contending team and being on a snap count to actually matter, he's going to a non-playoff team to hopefully relive the glory days and maybe, just maybe, make the playoffs to get bounced by like the Bucks or the Packers.
All right. Now, Brian?
Okay, so this is what I say here. I say this is an interesting move by J.J. Watt because this wasn't even a team that was listed as one of his teams he wanted to go to. I thought J.J. would sign with a team like that best suits him. So like the Bills, who have like a pass rusher in Ed Oliver. I thought he would be good with him. The Packers with Zarius Smith, Browns with Garrett, and or the Steelers with his brother. But it also makes sense that he did sign with Arizona because he wanted to, I guess, reunite with DeAndre Hopkins on that team, and that offense to me is already set for a playoff run. And that defense was a little shaky last year, but the signing of JJ makes sense because I think they also lost Chandler Jones mid-season. If you have him and Chandler Jones lined up on that line, oh, best believe that quarterback's going to be scrambling like Patrick Mahomes did in the Super Bowl. That's what I gotta say. But I think JJ made the right move. Yes, I'm sure he said screw Justin Tucker and all the other teams that he thought that we're gonna go to. But I think he picked the right bird. I mean, let's just say I think
the wrong bird. The wrong bird. He chose the wrong bird.
No, I like him. I like him in red and white and black. I don't like him in black.
No. Go ahead, Sean.
All right, boys. All right. So this is, I think we can all stand in agreement and say this surprised all of us, this move, in that we thought he was going to go to Buffalo, Tennessee. Justin thought Green Bay. That made a lot of sense. I think a lot of us thought that one. There was some Cleveland. I didn't like that one, but it was kind of a fit. It was at least kind of a fit. We all thought possibly.
No, it wasn't.
Possibly.
Yes, it
was. You're just saying that because they're division
Cleveland.
rivals. But come on, you know damn well.
Cleveland could be like a really good playoff team. You saw how far they went.
Okay,
they could easily beat the Chiefs.
All right, but that being said, I think the Cardinals do make some sense. He joins his former teammate DeAndre Hopkins, who was also traded there last offseason before, and that was a big shocker to all of us back then. And he also is, as to Brian's point, he's lined up opposite side of Chandler Jones, and that duo could wreak havoc on the entire NFC West. So this all creates. I mean, it makes some sense. I don't see why he should. I don't know. He said he wanted to go, and obviously the money had something to do with it. I mean, he's guaranteed, what is it, $23 million?
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean that's a lot, and. 2-year, $31 million deal, especially at his age and how he's kind of starting to break down as his career goes on. That was a surprise to me. I mean, it makes sense that he chose the guaranteed money because he's starting to break down a little bit. I was surprised he didn't choose a Super Bowl contender based on what he was saying before. But, I mean, it does make a little bit of sense, but I think overall, this is a very shocking move overall. So that being said, Sean, what are your thoughts on it? How do you feel about J.J. Watt becoming a Cardinal?
I mean, when it first came out, it was a little off-putting because no one saw that coming. But when I looked deeper into it, I mean, of their record looks bad. They were 8-8, but of those 8 losses, 5 of them came to a 1-score game, and the other ones were all 2-score games. So what is the edge that they need on the defense to stop those 1 scores? And maybe J.J. Watt was their answer. If they can stop them from getting that final score, they can win those close games, putting them into the playoffs. I mean, those 1-score games puts them, 13-3, I think, which puts them into the playoff picture. So even if they can win a couple of those, I think putting somebody else on the D-line would give them a better push. And it would be clear that J.J. Watt clearly has faith in Kyler Murray as he rises through the league, and that maybe we could see something come of this new team.
Yeah, that's a possibility. I think that so. This is a team this past offseason that was a borderline playoff contender, right? They started off pretty hot as the season, in the middle of the season, and they kind of deteriorated as the year went on. I think there was something going on with Kyler Murray towards the end of the season. I think he was nursing a leg injury. That's part of the reason why I discourage teams going after running quarterbacks, because that becomes the focal point of your game. And once, God forbid, you get a knee injury or something, your career could be screwed up. And best case scenario, you're just screwed up for the season, and the team suffers because you have a leg injury. And I think that's just a side thing, but that's another part of it is that this team is on the edge of playoff contention. This could definitely bring them over the hump, and it remains to be seen. Maybe Super Bowl contention. We'll see how the team does.
But it's bust now. It's either playoffs or bust, because if they don't make the playoffs, it's going to be a significant cap hit for JJ, considering
they have a good shot. They have a pretty good shot. If you have, even though Kyler was banged up a little bit, he did have, I think he had a shoulder injury too, I'm not really sure. But a fully healthy Kyler Murray and maybe like a fully healthy defense, because Chandler Jones ended his season with I think a really bad knee injury or fractured leg. I don't know what he had. And then the linebackers, I don't think like Isaiah Simmons, or I think his name was, didn't pan out the right way that he wanted to. So that's him. Yeah. So there's him. The only one that really stood out on that defense when Chandler Jones went down was probably like Buda Baker. Patrick Peterson was there too, but he's not. I don't think he's coming back now after that signing. So they're missing maybe like another number one corner that they could probably either draft or invest in, who's out there. If you sign like a couple of guys like that, maybe, then that Arizona team is not a bust. That Arizona team could possibly go all the way to the conference championship.
That's a bit of a stretch, but if they want to invest in free agency, at that point, just bring back Patrick Peterson. He's getting old, so he doesn't have as much leverage on the team.
I think you want to go to the younger age, though. You could use the draft. You could get, there's many quarterbacks coming out of that draft. You could get into that younger age, and you can draft a very good corner like Damon Arnett coming out of that draft with Vegas. He was a pretty good investment. There's Caleb Fairley. I think he'll be drafted in the first round. But there's many other players out there. I don't know really who's a free agent in corner, but
well, they might want to just invest in the offensive line at that point, because their offensive line was a little shaky this past year. They could just sign Patrick Peterson back, just take him back. They have all the leverage over him.
I think that's what Arizona will do with their first pick: draft an offensive line and then draft a corner. They should focus on mainly the positions that they need most. So they don't need pass rusher. They don't need wide receiver. They don't need quarterback. They don't need running back. I think you need to invest a little bit on the O-line. And
to Justin's point, it's playoffs or bust for this team, because they're investing so much into it. So the point still stands. They have a good setup here. So if it's not that debatable that it's playoffs or bust with this team, because they've invested so much. They went all in on JJ Watt last offseason. They invested in DeAndre Hopkins. Like, how much of a hit would it be if you have your franchise quarterback that you drafted number 1 overall a couple of years ago? You have DeAndre Hopkins that you invested in, and didn't have to pay the highest price, but they still got this big time receiver, and then bring in J.J. Watt, and you miss the playoffs in 2 years in a row, both years with all these players, right? So it's absolutely playoffs or bust, and possibly Super Bowl or bust in the next coming years, because they're going all in to make this team a Super Bowl contender.
I think that's how it has to be, though. At this point, where the league has come, look at Tampa Bay. They put a lot of money into a bunch of players, and they made a run at it. I think it's one of those things where you can't play safe and be like, oh, we're going to take this person for so little and take this person for so little and hope things work out. I think it's the time where they have it right. They're an 8-8 team. They could have made the playoffs last year. They were right there at the end. All they needed was a few more wins, and they had a couple close games. And I think, I don't know if I'd call them a Super Bowl contender, but I definitely think they could make a run for the playoffs just by adding a couple weapons, either from the draft, like Brian was saying, or just by pulling in a guy like J.J. Watt. Yes, it's a lot of money, but it's it's an investment for them. It's a short-term investment, but they're hoping to make a run.
Mm-hmm.
So, Sean, let me ask you this. Outside of Tom Brady, who they invested in, who did they invest a lot of money into this last offseason to go all in?
No, but what I meant was by bringing Brady in, it brought other people that wanted to play alongside Tom Brady.
Right. So who did they have to pay a lot? Who did they have to pay a lot of money for? Who followed it? Because I saw a lot of $5 million deals, $1 million. These small things. It was $5. I think it was about $5 million.
I think it was $5. Yeah. No, I didn't mean they paid, but I meant they put a lot of money into Brady with the hopes that it would bring other success with it. Maybe this is the same thing. They're bringing J.J. Watt with the hope that it'll bring other players at a lower value than they might actually normally go for in the hopes of bringing together a better team.
That's
A lot of people want to.
So would you
play
say
with the
like
stars.
would you say like a guy who was just released today, like Kyle Van Noy? Do you think he could get the attention of coming to Arizona?
And that's a valid point made. I mean, a guy like Kyle Van Noy might go play there cheaper if he knows that it means he's got a chance at a ring and he knows that JJ Watt's standing in front of him. Versus if he's going to go play for a team like Miami where he's going to be the star player and of course he's going to make more. But players sometimes are willing to sacrifice salary if they know that the guy to their left, their right are just as good as them and they're going to make a run.
Mm-hmm.
That's a
I mean,
fair
I think
point.
that's what we saw with Tom Brady down in Tampa Bay. Think about the amount of weapons that showed up after he finally popped up down there. And look what happened. They won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's true. They brought in some solid pieces. I still think a lot of those pieces they brought in are overrated. I think Antonio Brown, I know he's a big name, but he's not. Number one, he's a psychopath. Number two,
Yeah.
he's clearly a shell of what he once was. He's still an effective piece, but he certainly wasn't. He was obviously number 3, but on that offense, maybe number 4 on that offense behind Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Rob Gronkowski. But I understand. I completely understand your point. Kind of like you bring him in and he kind of like attracts more talent, more players want to play with him.
For example, Antonio Brown only played, I think it was for what, $1.6 million for like a 1-year contract. And he easily, any other team would probably go for a little more. But when players are willing to sacrifice to win a Super Bowl because Tom Brady's the quarterback, so is it going to be the same situation where people are going to be willing to sacrifice some of their pay because they know, hey, I got J.J. Watt in front of me. So A, I'm going to be doing less work out here because he's going to be getting sacks. And B, I want to make a run at this. And I know he's the type of guy who's going to lead us there. Just like people knew Tom Brady would lead them to a Super Bowl and they were willing to take less money if it meant they would have a chance at a Lombardi trophy.
And JJ Watt, if you see what the speeches he's done with Houston, he wants to win a ring. He wants it bad, and he deserves it. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I just think maybe if he chose a better team than Arizona, Buffalo just went 13-3. Even Tennessee, Green Bay, man, that team is
Wisconsin
had one of the best offenses in the league. Their defense was getting better, spotty. That would have plugged in a hole, and they could have easily went. Oh, he screwed this one up.
But maybe he's looking to make more input into the team.
It's a possibility.
Look at why would Brady ever leave New England to go play for a team like Tampa Bay, who I believe what were they when he went there? They weren't even a playoff team, were they?
No, they weren't a playoff team.
So why would Tom Brady go to a team like the Buccaneers? But it's the same thing. He knew he was going to have leverage. I mean, Bruce Arians literally said that he lets Tom Brady pretty much run the show, and he just sits back and watches. So if he's going to come out there and say that, who's to say that J.J. Watt isn't just going to run part of the defense and isn't going to have a lot of say? He wants to win a Super Bowl, but he also wants input.
Because Brady's a quarterback and J.J. Watt's a defensive end.
Okay, so it doesn't matter.
From a defensive line perspective,
JJ can lead that defense, no matter what the position is at. JJ can lead that defense. All right, it also relies on the defense.
He can't lead that defense to a Super Bowl. Quarterbacks can lead entire teams to a Super Bowl victory.
But
do you think
persuasion in who the front office brings in?
Do you think the Kansas City Chiefs without Frank Clark would still be in championship contention?
I wouldn't say Frank Clark. I would say Chris Jones.
No, I'm saying without Frank Clark, could they still be in Super Bowl contention? Could they still be in the mix?
Yes.
Yeah, in the mix.
Now,
yes.
Question number 2: without Patrick Mahomes, would they still be in the mix?
No,
absolutely not. That's my point.
Hold on, maybe. That's a huge maybe.
No, they're not in the mix without him.
Hear me out. There have been times during this season and last season where Patrick Mahomes has not played, and they've looked pretty this season and last season, and they looked pretty doggone good without him.
Well, right. They were making the playoffs with Alex Smith, but make no mistake, they were never a Super Bowl contender with Alex Smith.
I think they're a playoff team, and if you're a playoff team, you do have a chance to make it to the Super Bowl.
Well,
just less likely.
There's the Kansas City Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes of the world, and there's the Houston Texans in the early 2010s making the playoffs out of the wild card with Brian Hoyer. So there's levels to that. You can make the playoffs, and I mean there's been times before, say like the 9-7 New York Giants with Eli Manning. They went all the way to a Super Bowl and won.
I wonder who they beat.
But it's a rare occurrence.
I wonder who they beat.
All right, we're gonna.
I do.
That's beside the point. All right,
All right.
but transitioning over. So J.J. Watt has brought some crazy headlines this offseason, but let's transition over to his teammate, Deshaun Watson. He speaks with Houston's new head coach, David Culley, earlier this past week, and he reiterates that he does not want to play with the Texans, and if he's still on the roster, he's probably going to sit out. So he asked to be he asked to be traded months prior, and another notable thing is that he's through contract through 2024, so that's 4 years under team control. But nonetheless, he has been rumored ever since he requested a trade with several teams. There's been the Carolina Panthers, Denver, San Francisco, Miami, New York, lots of teams. And I'm pretty sure there's more. You know, we were talking about J.J. Watt and all these destinations, and he wound up going to Arizona. So your guess is as good as mine. Mm-hmm. And so now, guys, since there's a little bit of a standoff going on here, and things are getting ugly with this standoff. Does he actually even get traded this offseason?
Justin.
All right. So, I think eventually he will get traded, but it's not looking good. I believe Will Fuller will be gone before Deshaun Watson. I believe most of that team will be gone before Deshaun Watson leaves. I mean, it's gotten to that point. I believe Deshaun Watson says, I'm not playing for this team anymore. I'm done with this team. I don't want to play. And Houston's like, well, you're not going anywhere unless we want you to go. So it's a tough situation to be in. I believe eventually they'll get it done. But as of right now, I don't see any movement between the two. I think they're steadfast in their ways.
All right, so this is what I have to say. After that J.J. Watt signing, I'm sure he would love to get out of Houston, to be honest. Yeah, and you already brought up the teams, Adam: Denver, San Francisco, the Jets, Miami. If I have to say the three teams that can possibly land Deshaun Watson, I'm going to go with obviously my team, number one, the Jets.
Why?
Why?
Because hear me on.
Let's hear about
yes, because I'm a Jets fan.
That's pretty much it.
Because of the picks that they have with the 2 first rounders. Houston doesn't have any first rounders. I don't think they even have a second rounder. Who knows if they? I really don't even know what they have this year in the draft. But Jets have 2 first rounders. They could easily use that. They have a young quarterback in Sam Darnold that they could throw in. They could easily do that. And it goes the same thing for Miami. That's my number 2 team. Miami could possibly land him. Here's my number 3. My number 3 is Carolina. Carolina, with that, you got Teddy Bridgewater. Yes, he's been bouncing around a couple of teams. He could get traded out easily. I would say that Carolina could throw all their picks in because I don't think they might need a lot on the defensive side, but on the offensive side, when you look at it, Christian McCaffrey in the backfield, Mike Davis, DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, their tight end, something Thomas, forgot his first name.
Yeah.
He doesn't really stand out, but I think he will. If you have Watson on that offense, I think Carolina could go far, but not far enough to reach the playoffs. But those are teams that I think that can land Watson and Justin. Why I don't know why he had that disgusting look, but I think they can go far.
Why would Carolina get them if you're saying they're going to
in their division? I think they could get past. I think that
they can go far, but they won't make the playoffs.
That's not far.
But they won't make the playoffs.
You're talking about the same guy who thinks he's going to go to the Jets. Let's just put that in perspective.
He's beyond reasoning at this point.
They can do better. Far mean by they could do better what they did last year.
So Justin, Brian, does he get traded or not?
Those are the 3 teams I think he does get traded to. Yes, I do think he gets traded.
This offseason, you think he's...
Yes. And I think it's going to be a little bit before the draft. Just a little bit. You
So
think
just before
later?
the draft.
I know you think later, but I think a little bit before the draft.
It's gonna be an ugly standoff, and Houston is so dysfunctional they may actually end up waiting till after the draft, and they'll get less of a return for him. So the fact of the matter is, Deshaun Watson does not want to play with this team. All right. And that's not a good thing to keep a player on a team when he clearly doesn't want to be there. The attitude's going to be off. He's going to hold out. He's going to send the wrong messages to all the other players in the locker room. And his play is going to dip. It's going to be a bad look for the organization. Honestly, and if they do keep him through this season, it'll really be telling of just how dysfunctional this organization really is. And like I said, if they were to trade him before the draft, that'd be the ideal situation for Houston because that's where they could get the most return. They could get they can get a few first-round picks for him. They could probably get a couple players for him. I know the Panthers were trying to offer up. There was rumors about Christian McCaffrey, Teddy Bridgewater, and they were getting really, really real aggressive towards Matthew Stafford. You can only imagine how aggressive they'll get towards getting Deshaun Watson, and they've been clearing up cap space as well. So watch out for that team. Denver, that's another team that's been clearing cap space. They want him. San Francisco's a great fit, but they seem less and less likely as they go on. We'll see what happens there. The Jets have the most to offer, as Brian says, but just remember, there are the Jets. And Miami, I actually like that destination. I think that place makes the most sense. But that being said, will Watson get traded this offseason? It's just a matter of time. But he will be traded this offseason, whether it's before the draft or during training camp. It's going to happen. Let's be real. This standoff won't last that much longer. It'll last a while, but it won't go much longer than this offseason. So that being said, so Sean, you're a Miami Dolphins fan, diehard fan here, and you've been hearing all these rumors. We've been talking about this a little bit off camera. You have some strong feelings about this. Sean, buddy, the floor is yours.
So I think Houston is kind of got their hands tied here. I mean, if a guy's gonna tell you he's gonna sit, he's gonna sit. So I think they're kind of forced to get rid of him and trade him away. And I don't see why you wouldn't send him to Miami. I mean, currently they have no first or second round picks. We have their first round pick as of a trade from I think it was 2 seasons ago.
A year ago.
We have a third pick in the first round. They would be foolish not to take that with a young quarterback such as Tua in trade for Deshaun Watson. And a team like Miami, Deshaun's looking at it going, they were on the cusp of the playoffs last year. All we're missing, really is a quarterback. So with the quarterback who's got experience and knows what he's doing, mixed with the team that Miami already has and the strong defense Miami already has, that could be a Super Bowl contending team. And this could be the one run that Miami gets. And I don't see why he would want to go to the Jets or any of those other teams that are going to take a few years to develop. Deshaun Watson's already said he's lost too many years down in Houston, so why would he waste any more?
See, this is what I have for here. I think for Miami's case, yes, if you trade away your first round pick for Watson, you're gonna be missing out on maybe like a possible number 1 receiver. I think Devontae Parker could be a possible like a solid 2. Adam thinks the number 1, but I think he's a solid 2. You guys do have free agency. You guys could go out and maybe sign like Kenny Galladay or something like that. Curtis Samuel, maybe have like a nice little 1-2 combo right there. But I obviously, to be honest, as a Jets fan, he will probably do well in Miami. But I would love to see him in New York. I don't know why he wants to go to New York. I was surprised when I saw that, but I guess like the coaching maybe have had something to do with it. I really don't know what his speculation was with New York, but other than that, those are the only 2 teams I really see him going to. I mean, yes, Carolina's in there and they made an aggressive push for Stafford. I think the Jets and Dolphins are probably going to be.
I mean, I don't see why he would go anywhere but Miami. Again, all the other teams he's looking at are years away from a playoff run. Never mind a Super Bowl. I mean, they're seasons away from even making the playoffs. Here's a Miami team. They got a lot of young guys on rookie contracts, so the cap is there to give it to Deshaun Watson. There's a team that's ready to make the playoffs. I mean, we have the receivers. We saw that last year. We have the defense. We saw that last year. The only piece that was really missing was an offensive line and a QB. If we can get a couple guys on the line, either through free agency or the draft, and we can get Deshaun Watson, I don't see where we really have gaps. I mean, we have arguably the best kicker in the league right now. We've got the best defense in the league, arguably. So what's really missing? The offensive line and a quarterback.
Whoa. Are you the best kicker in the league? Hold on, wait a minute there.
As of last season, yes. He was.
Wait a minute. There's only one guy. There's one guy I know that is the best.
You and your Ravens thing over here.
It's not even me being a Ravens fan. It's just him being the best kicker in the league.
Okay, but I'm talking about last season.
Yeah, qualifies.
Okay, fine. We're not going to argue
this. As if he wasn't in all.
The point is every spot in Miami is pretty solid right now, with the exception of O-line quarterback. So if we can fill those two holes in the next offseason, keep our rookie wide receivers getting better and our rookie defense getting better, I don't really see where Miami can go backwards from where they were last season. So I think it's an investment for both parties where it could end in a ring. It could not. It could end in even just a playoff run. But it's better than any of the rest of his options, and it's better than staying in Houston. So,
all right. So, Sean, what is Miami's cap space right now? Do you know that?
Off the top of my head, I don't, but because I know we've been getting rid of guys left and right. Let me check.
Let's see,
I don't believe they're. Last I checked, they're not in the top 10, but they might be up there. One thing they did invest a lot in that defense last offseason with some contracts that went into 2021. So I can't imagine they're going to be have that much cap space to work with, because they just invested so much in that defense, and they also have a little bit on offense as well. So it's they may not have the most cap flexibility. Sean,
they did cut Val Van Noy, so that kind of freed up
the situation.
And that's I mean, I think we have a roughly 30. I want to say it's 30 million in cap space.
Yeah,
but the thing is. But the thing is like a player like Deshaun Watson, who's already said his goal is to go win a Super Bowl, is going to arguably go with whoever's going to get him the closest. And I think right now of his options, Miami's going to get him the closest.
So I can give that to you, yes. But if you look at the Jets' perspective, look at how many draft picks they have. They have 13 draft picks coming into this
still
draft.
2-14 though.
That was from last season, okay? That was from last season. Darnold wasn't even fully healthy. You had Adam freaking Gase as coach, so there's that. We got rid of him, so his guys got shipped out of New York. So I
don't think Deshaun Watson wants to wait 4 years for a team like that to come around, and the Jets aren't going to go for
Just hear me out.
Super Bowl team.
You got 80 something million in cap space. You got a lot of money to work with, and if you bring Watson, best believe that they might get someone top notch in wide receiver, and a guy who I should point out who said something to Twitter if Watson went to New York, Allen Robinson. He said something. He said, "If you're going to New York, I'm going to New York." I literally saw that, and no, it was not a fan page, Adam. So let me get that out of the way. But
so how do you know? Did he specify if it was Deshaun Watson that he was talking about?
Yes.
How do you know?
I don't really know. I don't remember what it said,
Deshaun
but
Watson?
it's
still all rumors. It's how you. It's like
it is rumors.
It's like JJ Watt going out and saying the mitochondria is the powerhouse to the cell, and then all these league overthinkers are being like, "Oh my God, he's going to the Bills for some reason." They just twisted into this thing that we just don't know. And just like you talk about all these resources the Jets have, when they trade for Watson, you better believe that that team is going to resources because they had to spend all of that. They may have a lot of cap space left, but the Jets are still the Jets. They're not all that attractive of a destination. So Deshaun Watson might make them competitive, but Deshaun Watson would make Miami a Super Bowl contender.
I think competitive enough.
You can't say the same thing about the Jets next year. You really can't.
I would say if Watson put that team there competitive enough to beat the Patriots, because right now the Patriots aren't looking in a good position.
That says nothing.
But can you find any other team that Watson's interested in going to?
It says it to us. Let's just say that.
49ers.
Out of the teams that he's looking at, who else could you say is arguably going to give him a good run at the Super Bowl?
The 49ers.
Yes, San Francisco.
So then how come, I mean, when I...
Denver, too, actually.
No.
I don't know.
They're too young. Too young.
They're too young.
Too young. Once Jerry Jeudy gets going,
second year.
Jerry Jeudy and what's his name? KJ Hamler and Tim Patrick is a free agent, but once those two get going, then those two will
be fine.
KJ Hamler and Tim Patrick are irrelevant in that offense. It comes down to Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, and Noah Fant, all three of those players. They won't be too young. They'll be just right. They just need to improve that offensive line, maybe spend a little on the defense, and they're ready to be a competitive team in that. They're going to have a crazy competitive division rival. I think we know who exactly that team is going to be, but they're definitely going to be competitive in the AFC when they get Deshaun.
Okay. KJ Hamler's irrelevant.
Yeah, compared to Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy. Yes.
Okay, dude.
And Noah Fant,
high prospect coming out of college, getting drafted, and Cortland Sutton we already know he's capable of. KJ Hamler was like a low pick. All right, give this guy a chance.
The second round.
He's only had 1 year too.
Brian, if you're an NFL quarterback tomorrow and you go into the Broncos offense, who are you throwing to? Noah Fant, Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, or are you gonna look elsewhere and go like, oh, where's KJ Hamler? Where's Tim Patrick out there?
I could say that KJ Hamler could be number 3. Look, you got Fant at tight end position. You got these two. You got Jeudy and Sutton on the slot. KJ Hamler could be a nice slot receiver. That's what I'm saying.
If Sutton's already in the slot, then you can't put KJ Hamler in the slot. That's not how.
I don't know what Cortland Sutton plays. I don't know if he's wide out. Okay, so KJ Hamler could go on the wide out.
Okay.
He's still a good receiver. I don't know why you guys think that he's
solid,
not.
but he's not. But he's nothing compared to the big 3 that they have in pass catchers.
Big 3. They're not that good yet. We can't call them the big 3.
We're not gonna. Okay,
he had a pretty good year with Mr. Drew Lock throwing to him.
Yeah, I get that.
They had a solid season.
They had a solid year,
given the circumstances of who the quarterback was.
Yeah.
So we should certainly make a jump in year 2. And Noah Fant also had a tough go at it as well with Drew Lock, and he's had some injuries he's had to deal with. But I mean, give him a full healthy season, and then that team's ready to go. And add in Deshaun Watson, he makes that entire offense better.
I would say, didn't they have to go a game without a quarterback anyways, where they had to play a wide receiver at quarterback? Wasn't that them?
Yes.
Yeah, they had to do that.
So it's like you they had a rough year.
Yeah, add Deshaun, and everybody thought the Broncos were going to be better last year. Everybody thought they were going to be better.
I thought that. Yep.
And you add Deshaun Watson to that mix, and they absolutely will be better.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I got to say, better than if the Jets had Deshaun Watson. Just much better.
The argument still stands that we have to look at what's Houston going to want in return, though. And I mean, I don't know what Denver or what I know what the Jets have to offer, but I don't know what Denver or a team like San Francisco has to offer. But I really feel like that 3rd pick in the first round could be, I don't want to say juicy bait for them, but I feel like it could be a real good, reason for them to lean towards Miami. Because at the end of the day, the front office also gets a say on where he goes because they need something back in return. And I feel like they're going to lean towards taking that 3rd pick in the first round back from us. Because that would be their only first round pick. So they're going to take what they can get out of that if they're going to get rid of their star quarterback.
That's a possibility.
If the Jets miss out on Watson, I'll be happy with Zach Wilson. Because he can actually know how to stay on the field instead of Sam Darnold who does not know to stay on the field.
You can't blame that on him. He's injured.
I
That's not
say
his fault.
No,
It's-
no,
Can't
no,
really
no.
blame that on him.
He's sick. He got injured he gets injured in practice too much. No, he's a walking injury to me.
Because y'all can't pass protect or block for anything.
He gets
That's going to
injured-
happen when you're on the
How is
New
it
York
How is
Jets.
that the line's fault that he gets sick and that he broke
He
his
caught
finger
mono. That's
on
not
a
his.
stupid accident he did at home?
He got mono.
he got mono.
Is that,
Okay, but what
that's not
does
an
the
injury
fractured finger
fault.
have to come with?
Okay. All right, we're gonna move on. We're gonna move
We're not
on.
making any
Go.
point. All right.
We're gonna move on.
I'm not
Go.
trying to
So
discuss this
we
barely.
talked. We spoke about one. We spoke about one quarterback who's who's on the hot stove this offseason, being involved heavily in trade rumors. So we're gonna transition into another quarterback who's just emerged to be heavily rumored in trade rumors ever since he's kind of voiced out his frustration. So Russell Wilson, he told his agent, he tells Adam Schefter that Wilson has not asked for a trade yet, but he does have a list. So this list includes Vegas, Chicago, New Orleans, and Dallas if he were to get traded. So now he has expressed frustration with the team, and he's voiced some complaints about being hit too much. There's been reports that he stormed out of a meeting. He's said he wants more of a say in team decisions, and that was kind of ignored. So there's a lot of tensions rising in that organization between them and the quarterback. So I think the question here is, and now we thought for a while that until this report surfaced that this is kind of a pipe dream, but now it looks like it's coming into a little bit of a reality. So the question is, do you guys see him is he going to get traded at any point?
Nope. I just don't see it happening, at least right now. I think he's in the same position Deshaun Watson is in, except that the Seattle Seahawks know what they're getting out of it because he is a Super Bowl winning quarterback, despite that interception. But at the end of the day, Russell Wilson's a fantastic quarterback. He's made the playoffs every single year of his career. He's a multiple-time Pro Bowler. He's an All-Pro. He's phenomenal. But at the same time, he hasn't had much help on that O-line. So I understand where he's coming from. And I think Seattle, if I'm Seattle, I should try to get him more help, especially since J.J. Watt is now in the NFC West. I would start working on that O-line and try to fix it immediately. Otherwise, he will get more and more disgruntled with it and will as in demand for a trade. So I think it's about time they actually address the O-line now. But I don't think he'll get traded. Not yet.
All right. Yeah. That's I have to disagree, but Brian.
I don't know why you're disagreeing. I'm saying no too because I think Russell Wilson, what Justin just went over, he's too valuable to give away. You see what he's done in the past, even though obviously besides the interception he threw in the Super Bowl. Not happy about that, but yeah, the Seahawks need to address those certain points. I think they need to address that O-line, the run game. Oh my God, address that run game because I don't care what you say about Chris Carson. He is a walking injury on that field. The defense, for some reason, wasn't doing too well. That's another thing they might need to address. I don't know why exactly, because after getting Jamal Adams, I thought that defense could be like a top 10 defense in the league, but they weren't for some reason. I guess they just didn't have the year. They obviously fired their defensive coordinator, but I don't think he's going to get traded this offseason. But if it keeps starting to like fume like this Watson thing's going, like Watson's case, I'm going to say next offseason. He might get traded out. And if I had to say a team, I would say Raiders. I don't see Derek Carr is not their future. I really do not see Derek Carr playing in Vegas that much longer. He's had so many chances in Vegas, and I don't know, like he had Henry Ruggs, didn't do anything with him. So he always passes it to like Waller. He can't even do anything with Jacobs, and Jacobs is supposed to be like a nice running back. I just don't see Derek Carr being in Vegas that much longer. And if Wilson were to get traded, he's going right to Vegas, I think. New Orleans, I think, will get a quarterback by then. Chicago, I think, will get a quarterback by then. And Dallas, I don't know why Dallas. Like, who knows what the Dallas is more focused on Dak than trading for Wilson. So I'm going to say Raiders.
All right, so I'm going to tell both of you why you're dead wrong about Wilson not being traded. So you guys are dead wrong, and here's why. So this report's a little disturbing to me. That Russell Wilson's agent tells Adam Schefter that essentially that, well, I haven't asked for a trade, but if I were to be traded, I want to be traded here, 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 and here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, dude, that literally means, in other words, I'm thinking about getting traded. I hate it here. I'm pretty frustrated. I'm thinking about getting traded. Mm-hmm. And so with reports of dysfunction, and all of these, like, he's being denied having a voice as the franchise quarterback to have a say in these team meetings. I just think he's eventually going to get traded. He stormed out of a meeting. I mean, that's pretty crazy. That's like, it's the same thing with what I said with Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson is unhappy with his team, so he's going to get traded one way or another. Now, it may not be this offseason, and it may not be the offseason after that, but he's eventually going to be traded one way or another. I don't see how these issues that I'm hearing of are going to get fixed. Complaining about getting hit too much. Seattle is notorious for not investing in offensive lines. That's not going to go away. And their center, what did he get involved in, a domestic violence incident or some sexual assault thing? They already cut him. So it's only going to get worse unless they invest there, which they haven't. And they haven't even tried to. So this is something where I don't see how you can't look at this and say, yeah, this is going to escalate to the point where he's going to get traded. And I've been very consistent on quarterbacks who are this unhappy. I say the same thing about Aaron Rodgers. Honestly, when he spoke, I know he backtracked on this right after the NFC Championship game when he basically said, well, my future's kind of uncertain now. I know, like, it was kind of in the heat of the moment, but I think in the heat of the moment, the truth came out at that point, and was kind of trying to say that he's, like, frustrated with this organization. He doesn't like what's going on. He already called for one coach's job with McCarthy and brought in Matt LaFleur, and he was clearly unhappy with that one decision, not going it on fourth down and going for a field goal. Mm-hmm. All right, so I'm very consistent on this. This quarterback is this unhappy. He's going to get traded one way or another. You can't keep a quarterback on your team that is this unhappy. It's just a bad look. One way or another, he's gone. All right. Now, Sean, what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, I was going to reference, let's look at what happened with a QB such as Tom Brady. Tom Brady was a legacy quarterback up in New England. And eventually there was some kind of, fraud with the front office, whether it was over the numbers of how much he was going to get paid or they weren't listening to him or whatever. But there comes a point where a quarterback grows, old of not being listened to and, feels like that they hold a status on the team. They're the starting quarterback. They should have some kind of input. And as they get older and they're not getting that input or they're not getting what they want, they see a reason to leave. And I think that he might stick around. I think this might be a heavy threat towards the front office where, hey, if something doesn't change, I will leave. Like, look, he did it up in New England, and I'm going to do it too if you don't change something right now. So I don't know if it's a certain he's going to get traded, but I think if nothing changes, then absolutely.
No, there's always a possibility things can turn around, and it turns out like this was all just kind of just stupid drama that wound up being, it kind of all just blew over. I just see, like, you see a lot of situations like this. When you see stuff like this happen, I rarely ever see it, and you see it in all sports. When something like this happens, you rarely see it de-escalate when it gets to this point. Like, I feel like there's a point of no return where just when it's this heavily rumored, when this much stuff happens, eventually, like, it's broken beyond repair. Like, there is the possibility everything could wind up being okay. But I think he's going to get traded. I just think it's as good as it's going to be over in this year or next year.
I just don't know.
I think for Russell Wilson, his eyes were kind of open when he watched Brady walk away, like back to the whole New England thing. I think for him and a lot of quarterbacks, they saw what Brady did in New England. I mean, he was a Super Bowl winner, whatever. Why would he ever leave? Why would he be foolish enough to walk away from Bill Belichick and a franchise team that he built himself? And when they realized the reasons he left and how he could still do it in another place, these other quarterbacks went, I could do that too. I think Russell Wilson's in the same boat where he's unhappy, just like Brady was unhappy with the numbers and wasn't happy with things. And he's going, look, I can go, take my talent somewhere else and build up a dynasty over there. I mean, he did it. Why can't I? And I think the Seahawks have questions to answer.
This is my thing with you, Sean. If he's thinking about like the Bears, even though I don't think the Bears, if Wilson were to get traded this offseason, I don't think the Bears, Saints, and Dallas will wait that long. I think the Raiders can wait, but the Raiders, if you look at that offense, like all I see that stands out is like their tight end, their running back, and Henry Ruggs. They don't have much at wide receiver. I mean, Hunter Renfrow, but like he's not really like reliable. But I just think that Wilson's just too valuable to give away. I understand what you're saying with Tom Brady because maybe he was just a free agent and he just wanted to leave New England and maybe just to change the scenery and he could still do it over there. I just think that Wilson's too valuable to give away, considering he's easily like a top 5, top 10 quarterback.
But again, why? Okay, so to your point, if he's too valuable to give away, why would a team such as New England never accommodate to what Brady wanted when he was such a valuable player?
Because I think Brady had a lot of issues with Belichick.
Look, that was clear. I mean, Belichick literally was prouder of Garoppolo in San Francisco. He openly said he was proud of what he had produced out of Garoppolo in San Francisco, but let anything bad always fall into Brady's shoulders. So it's like if you don't respect your quarterback, why would they want to stay? I mean, they're your star player. They're the reason you have 6 Lombardi trophies, and you're just going to look at them and be like, you don't matter. How would you feel as a player if you put sweat in? It's like Cam Newton when he went to New England. I mean, the man didn't see his family. What was it, 3 months? He put everything into that team. How could you feel that sitting there putting all this effort in, way more than any other player is, and have zero input?
Yeah.
And I think that's what people are starting to realize is Brady did it, and now a lot of people are over the next few years are going to start to speak up and say, hey, I need to see change. This is what this team needs if they want to win. And players are going to start getting more of an opinion, whether it's the quarterback, and eventually it might stem even deeper, like we were talking about earlier with J.J. Watt going to play for the Cardinals. It might eventually stem where these big-name guys get more of a say in who comes and who goes because they're the ones actually at the end of the day who are playing the game.
Yeah, and Brian, if he's that valuable to Seattle, then why aren't they giving him more of a say in these meetings? If he's so valuable to Seattle, then why are they not giving him more protection and investing in an offensive line? If he's so valuable to that team, then why is he being denied more of a say on his team? And why are they not accommodating for him right now and trying to make things better? They're not making an effort. It feels like, the fact that it just got out that he's requested something like this. I mean, clearly they don't value him that much.
Look, they could fix the offensive line. There's that.
It's a matter of whether they will.
This could be just something that's like you said, this could be something that's like drama, bull crap, whatever. And they could fix it during like the offseason. I think that he will still end up in Seattle, and if things don't go according to plan, like I said, he gets traded next offseason. This is like another Deshaun Watson from this offseason. Deshaun is out of Houston this season. I think if this starts to boil more and more with the team, then I think Wilson would get traded out next offseason. But
I think
what you said with the offensive line, dude, that's an easy fix. They already released their center. They know they need help. And this what's his name? Mike Iopodi or something like that. He just retired. He was with Seattle.
See, that's easier said than done. If they've lost all these offensive line players, especially like in left tackle, what's their situation at left tackle? Left tackle is very hard to replace. There's not many great left tackles in the league. And again, to your point, they just lost their center. Their offensive line already in the past couple decades historically has been shaky, and now they're losing some players. It's only going to get worse before it gets better. And is Russell Wilson willing to wait for that? He just complained about getting hit too much, and they haven't listened to it. Now, maybe they could fix it, but it's a matter of whether they will. And they haven't done it before. What makes you think they'll do it now?
I just think that reason is not enough to have him get sent out of Seattle just because the offensive line. It's the willing of them wanting. It's up to Seattle's organization that if he wants to get traded. It's not his. It could obviously be his decision, but I don't think he's gonna make the dumb move and say, "All right, I'm gonna sit out."
See, I think it's really a threat at the end of the day because he hasn't gone up and said, "I demand a trade." He's just said, "Well, I wouldn't mind going to these places. Like I'm not opposed if I was to get traded to go here." So I think he's pretty much looking at the front office and saying, "Hi, you're gonna fix this, or you're gonna send me here." Like it was kind of like a gesture of fix this. So he might not go this off season, but if you don't see change, I definitely wouldn't be surprised if you see him leave next year.
So basically, what you're saying is that he's catching your eyes.
He's pretty much he's threatening the front office. He's pretty much saying, "Hi,
so he wants front office to do this first."
Here's a reality that I could be traded. Like I'm not here guaranteed. Like you better listen to me, or eventually I will be traded, and you will have no quarterback. So I think he might stay 1 year, see if they fix things, and then if they don't fix things, I think next year you could see him go.
Yeah, but the problem is Seattle would still have to trade him, and people would have to give up reasonable assets to acquire him. If they're not giving me the right or proper assets to trade or acquire, I'm not giving him up specifically because of the contract he signed with us. If he was very upset about the situation, and if he was very much upset about the circumstances surrounding it, I wouldn't have signed the deal to make me the highest paid quarterback in the league if I was that upset.
Want something from either the defensive side or the offensive side. And like what Adam said, left tackle is hard to replace. I do give him that. You're not going to get much from left tackle. I think it's really hard to draft, and I would say draft one, but I don't really know anyone besides this Alex Leatherwood guy coming out of Alabama that stands out as an offensive tackle. I don't know if he plays tackle, so I don't know if he plays right or left. So that's other than that, that's really it. It's hard. Like I said, it's hard to get it's hard to get offensive lineman who's a left tackle. They couldn't. If Wilson were to get traded, they could get someone on the cornerback side maybe, or the line side, or the defensive line side to if you want to give up Wilson. But like I said,
I was gonna say you ever think maybe he just wants more input? Maybe he's just saying this I mean, it's understandable. You can't just, fix something at the snap of your finger. It's impossible. I mean, it takes time and money, and, it takes good trades and good picks and free agency, and it takes some working. But maybe it's he's just looking for the effort to see that they're actually listening to him. Even if because we don't know how much of this is a threat versus how much of this is him legitimately saying, I will be traded. I want to be traded if you don't fix ABC. Or if he just wants to see the front office take a step towards listening to him just to see that they're actually caring of what he has to say. So even one step in the proper direction, maybe a new offensive lineman in the draft this year that could actually help them rather than taking, later, because like Adam said earlier, they don't really focus on their O-line. So maybe he just wants to see improvement, that they're actually listening to him and that his input actually does matter before he says, okay, no, I don't want to be traded.
Yeah, that's fine. I think he will play in 2021. I think he will be in the Seattle Seahawks uniform.
Oh, I think he's in a Seattle.
I agree.
Absolutely.
I don't think he's at the point where Deshaun is, where he's all right, I will sit down and not play. I don't think he's that.
Well, no, I absolutely not. I just think if he doesn't see progress in them actually doing something he has to say, even if it's not to the full extent, just to show that they're listening, then he might next year start to consider.
I found this stat so funny. I didn't know this was true. Since 2017, Blake Bortles has more playoff wins than Russell Wilson.
I showed you that.
I still can't believe it. I didn't. Blake Bortles has 2. Russell Wilson has.
That's insane. Yeah.
And so, Sean, I would agree with you on saying that this team. He could be just using this as leverage to say, you guys need to fix this, and I'm going to give my insight or I'm gone. But hearing this reports that he said he wants to get he wants more of a say in team meetings and their decisions, and then they kind of ignore it and just it falls on deaf ears. That's a little alarming to me. And that's why I feel like maybe this isn't just a leverage play. This is him actually thinking like, dude, like they're not listening to me. I'm getting hit too much, and this is something where I'm not sure if I can stay here much longer.
I mean, I see it as a final threat. I don't want to say because like the end stage would be where Deshaun Watson is, which is I want to trade, get rid of me, get me out of here. I want to leave. He hasn't reached that point. He's only said, he's only hinted at it publicly of where he would want to go if he was traded. So I don't think he's saying, I want to be traded now, but I think he's pretty much saying, hey, like I'm reaching wit's end. You're either going to listen or I'm going to go.
I just feel like if he was really at this stage that you say he is, I feel like he wouldn't be coming out with specific teams he wants to get traded to, having his agent actually come out. This isn't just rumors. This is like actually things that his agents told Adam Schefter and said, look, we haven't asked for a trade yet, but I think we want to go here, 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 and here. We want to go to Dallas. We can talk all we want about those destinations. Those are some weird destinations, but look at the fact that don't you find it a little wacky that they just came out with all of these specific destinations and said like that we might want to get traded actually publicly?
But I think that's the point. Is it was like it was because obviously he walks out and he's shown his frustration, but it's like anything in the world where like until it's shown right in front of your face where it could actually end up if you don't fix the problem, they probably just were like, whatever, he's our franchise quarterback, he's not going to leave, like he just kind of has to deal with it. So now when they sit there and they look and they see, oh my God, this could actually be real, that's when they have to take a step back as their front office and go, okay, what are we going to do to fix this? And if they don't fix it, he's gone. But I really think that this is like I'm truly stuck that this is the final, hey, I've expressed my concerns. Here is the real threat of these are the teams I want. Like I might be going. And that should be eye-opening for the front office, especially since it was publicly said. I think it really is also to say, like, if he leaves, it wasn't his fault. He has expressed his concerns with the team. He's made it public. He's expressed his concerns, and they don't want to listen so that fans of Seattle know, hey, I'm not abandoning you, your front offices.
All right. Now, we're running short on time. We're going to just touch on this last segment real quick. All right. Now, Alex Smith, we find out a couple of days ago on Monday, he is being released by Washington at the start of free agency. So this is a guy who has won Comeback Player of the Year after undergoing 17 knee surgeries in the past couple of years. He, following a life-threatening leg injury, suffered during the 2018 season. So this is somebody who's gone through a lot of stuff, and they literally just right after he makes his comeback, he says, "Yeah, you're gone, buddy." So guys, real quick, let's just touch on this real fast because we're getting way up there on time. How are we feeling about this decision by Washington making this move?
I think it's a bold move. I think you either have a lot of faith in Taylor Heineke or you're at the point where we don't want you here anymore. You kind of cost us our plan, so see you, bye. I'm not sure where to take this. I think Alex Smith is a good quarterback. I'm not sure if I want him starting right now because of the leg injury, but I'd still want him on my roster to help develop my backups in case they have to be starters or my franchise quarterbacks.
Yeah, you can understand that side of it, kind of saying like, well, like he went through all this stuff, and they kind of just let him go and kind of cut him, and they were very supportive of him throughout the process. It was a life-threatening thing. So he kind of just got cut. He hits free agency. So Brian, what are your thoughts?
I mean, it is sad to see that Alex Smith, the crap he went through. Oh my God, I can't believe that guy even is still playing the NFL. But it is sad to see him go. So like, I don't know. Like, I understand the move because he's two things. One, when he came back, he was battling a couple of like minor injuries, like concussions, hamstrings, stuff like that. He's also up there in age, so that's another thing. So he might be finished with that, and I understand why Washington did also release him because of that what that offense has, very young offense, as you can see with like Antonio Gibson, J.D. McKissick, what's his name, Steven Sims Jr., Terry McLaurin. That's a very young offense right there. Logan Thomas, that's another one. I could see that Washington could win the NFC East division if you draft a quarterback in the draft. I am not saying Taylor Heineke. I don't know where the hell you're getting that, Justin. I'm going to say, and this is what I said.
Better than Dwayne Haskins. Where was Dwayne Haskins drafted again? Like
he was a bust.
15th overall.
He was a bust. He had no business on doing the NFL.
So what makes you think they won't draft another bust?
Well, we don't know. I'm going to say, but like this is the quarterback I had on the scopes with. So I think Mac Jones could fall in the middle of the draft in the first round. Maybe like the Patriots or something like that. We all know Lawrence, Fields, Wilson, all those guys will be up in the high. We all know Lawrence's will be the Jaguars. If the Jets miss out on Watson, Wilson's going to be there. Fields, I think, will end up in either Carolina or Atlanta. I'm going to say Atlanta though. I'm going to say Kyle Trask. That Kyle Trask could go to Washington. He could do a little something there. So that's why I'm saying that Washington could. What?
Bust. Kyle Trask is going to be a bust.
I don't like
Kyle Trask.
He can't move.
Okay, yeah, you don't like Kyle Trask, but yeah, I like what he's done in college. I think he's a nice little.
I like his teammate Kyle Pitts.
I like Pitts.
I like Pitts, not.
I like Tony. I like
Kyle.
I can't say that. No. I like Trask, and I love Trask in college. He was one of my favorites, and I think he was one of my favorites in college. I think he's like a sleeper, to be honest, to me, in his draft.
All right.
No one really, everybody sees like the names. You don't see like Kyle Trask pop up on the list.
Okay. Now, I understand both sides of the situation. So to Justin's point, they kind of just cut him right following a season, such a comeback season for him after a life-threatening injury. But on the other side, you have to look at the other side of it, the business side of it, unfortunately, which is that with this move, they get $14.7 million in cap space back for this season. This is a team that was already top 5-6 in cap space this season, and they go up by 14.7, so that's a huge number. And this is a team that's very young and up and coming. They have Logan Thomas coming up. They have Terry McLaurin coming up, and their defense is awesome. So this is a team that's getting very close to contention. They may be just a quarterback away. So this is something where they could either trade for one, they could sign one, they could draft one. I'm not sure what they can get at the position that they're at. Maybe we'll see where Mac Jones goes, not Kyle Trask. Maybe Trey Lance. But I think, this is a team that's very close to postseason to contention, and we love you, Alex Smith. I hope you honestly, go to New England. He'd be a nice fit there. We're looking for a type of quarterback like you, sort of a bridgy kind of type of quarterback to transition over to our next guy. Keep us afloat. Go to New England. Go to a new team. He's gonna find a new team. He's a nice player. Go to New England. Come over here. Come to Boston. We'll treat you well. All right, but Sean, final thoughts before we close out.
I was, it's definitely not the end for Alex Smith, but I gotta agree with Adam. There's a business side to everything, and is Alex Smith worth the money that Washington was going to pay out to him? I mean, they finished 7-9. He only played in half their games. Granted, I think he won 5 of them, 5 of the 8 he played in. But he is, Washington's looking at it going, is he worth, the investment when we have, as Adam was saying, people rising up and getting better, or is it worth letting go of him and bringing someone else new to help us, rise the team up as one? And I got to agree with letting him go as much from a business perspective. He'll find somewhere else to play. His story is amazing, obviously. I mean, he came back from something most people probably would never. I mean, he battled the road of recovery, but I just don't think Washington was the fit. I don't think, he was too old for what Washington's looking for.
Well said, Sean. All right, boys. That'll do it for us tonight. All right, thank you for listening to us. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check us out on Spotify and Google Play. Also, be sure to follow our Instagram at Fumblerooski_podcast to keep up with our podcast and the latest coverage on the NFL. Otherwise, we will see you next week. Over and out.